to recruit, man.
Man, hang on. Get connected here.
You're already connected, bro.
I know, but I don't want to surprise my mom at her house for Mother's Day this weekend. Well, this week. So I just got here. We just got finished eating, and now I'm trying to get connected to the Wi-Fi, and she don't know what the heck she's doing with internet. So I have to figure it all out myself. So, anyways, what's up, man?
Nice. All right. So hold on 1 second. I'm gonna go live on Facebook real quick. 1 second. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Everyone, welcome to the Coaching Corner.
All right. So, yeah, just like Wifey said, welcome to the Coaching Corner, where we are very authentic. This is kind of the behind the scenes of coaching, where we just kind of open up and share stories with coaches that have made an impact and kind of made a trail for themselves and kind of just been pushing forward. So just a brief background about us as a couple. My wife played at a very high level, Assumption College, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell the people a little bit about your playing days?
Wish I was still playing.
Yeah. She's very modest, but a hell of a player. Scored 2,000 points in high school, second all-time leading scorer at Assumption College. And I've been a coach for years. Started out as a manager at the D2 level, worked my way up, became a D1 assistant coach. And we actually have a basketball training business now. We also help tons of coaches out there. So we help coaches to sharpen and develop their tools and add different tools into their toolkit. So we have a group coaching program. We also do some one-on-one coaching as well. So if you want to get that work, let me know.
Let's go.
All right. So now into the show, right? So wanted to bring on a guest today that we go way back. I'm talking about like way back. We were both video coordinators when we met. We kind of was both, I feel like we was both trying to find our way through everything, just messing up film. I think that's probably what we was doing the most, was just messing up a bunch of film.
I'd agree with that.
But after a long, rough route of getting through it, we both had stepped up around the same time, and we always stayed in contact. We actually went to Joe's wedding.
Yes, we did.
So not only is he a great contact, he's also a great friend of our family. So we just knew if we're doing a coaching corner at some point, we got to have Joe come on. So we're going to go ahead and let him kind of tell his story, how he got into coaching, and some great things that he's been able to do throughout his career. So it's on you, Joe. You got it.
Well, thanks, guys. Unfortunately, I couldn't make their wedding. They had their wedding right before we had us, the July evals. So it was tough for us to kind of get out there. But like TP said, we both started out as video coordinators. Before I did that, I played 2 years college basketball, tore my ACL twice. And just from there, just kind of thought it was like, all right, this might not be for me. So just decided to get involved. I ended up finishing my undergrad at UCF. I volunteered as a manager for 2 years, and that's honestly how I got all my experience. I tried to go to the men's side. I knew Donnie Jones, who was there on the men's staff, and he was like, yeah, you can come, but, we got about 10 managers. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. So I decided to do it. And then I had Greg Brown, who was the former head coach at Lipscomb University, came and spoke to one of my classes and said they were looking for help. And I was like, well, let me go ask. So I went to talk to him. I asked him, I said, how many people you got helping, coach? He's like, we got one. And I said, that's it? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you want to start? I said, when can I start? And it was just like that. No interview, no nothing. He was the associate head coach at the time at UCF and said, hey, just come to practice tomorrow. Here's our schedule. And, we'll try it out for a week. We see how it goes. And sure and behold, this is my 7th year coaching Division I. And like I said, kind of worked my way up. Was a manager for 2 years. The person that was a video coordinator ahead of me who I was working with ended up getting promoted to an assistant coach. And I was kind of working hand in hand with her. And Joy Williams, the head coach at the time, said, hey, I got the position open. Boom, took that. I did that for 2 years. Then the assistant coach who I replaced, she left. And then I just kind of slid into that. So I've been very lucky. Timing is everything. As you know, in any job, timing is huge. And it just kind of worked out where I just positioned myself to kind of move my way up. And here I am. Like I said, this will be going on, I think this is coming up on year 7, or I think I just did year 7 coaching. And then I did 2 years as a video coordinator. So going on 9 years in the business, which is kind of crazy thinking I'm not even 30 yet. So pretty exciting and very lucky though.
Yes.
Love that. Love that. So Coach, just thinking about your journey and how you made that jump from, first of all, as a manager into an assistant coaching role, did you kind of break down what were some of the key things that you had to kind of switch up when you went from a support role to now you're out recruiting, you're doing different things? What were some of the transitions that you had to make in order to go from, you did a couple jumps. You went from a manager to a video coordinator, then from a video coordinator into an assistant coach. So what were some of the things that you had to overcome in that transition?
The first one, as you know, when you're trying to start now, is experience. Everybody wants experience in the business, but you don't get it unless someone gives you a shot, and so that was huge for me. Obviously you got to work and you got to earn that. Someone's not just going to give you a handout and say, hey, you've shown up and, you've done just what we asked. Here's a job. You have to prove to them that you really wanted it. And being on the women's side and being with Joy and Greg Brown, I really had the opportunity to just do as much as I could. So experience was the biggest thing. I didn't know much at all about the women's game. But being the degree, I was an exercise science major with the track and coaching. So I was getting the schooling in the background during the day, and then I built my schedule around basketball. So whenever I wasn't in class or doing work, or even when I was probably doing it in the women's basketball offices just to be there in case something came up or they needed a rebounder or someone needed help with film and our video coordinator couldn't do it. I was available. Mm-hmm. So that was the biggest thing, just being around, not just whenever you need to be there. But video coordinator role, I really started out with mail outs. That was huge back in the day, sending out actual envelopes. I know we probably all did that, but no one does that no more, or not as much. Everything's graphic wise and digitally now, but did that. Really, we had film exchange. I remember, you remember that DP putting stuff on Exos and Dragonfly and downloading and burning DVDs.
Oh my God.
Bruh, I feel like we don't even use DVDs anymore. So, and we've only been in the game for a short amount of time, and those have become obsolete. So, just doing that, doing as much as possible with the kids, with the coaches. And then when I took over as an assistant, as everybody knows, you got to be able to recruit. And so I always made a plan whenever I became an assistant coach. My first 2 weeks on a job, I was going to call every AAU, every prominent high school in the area. And obviously I started in Orlando, Central Florida. You can get to Jacksonville in 2.5. You can get to Miami in 3. So you were in a prime location to connect with coaches. So I got a list from our prior assistant coaches and our head coach. I said, hey, listen, I need 10 AAU coaches. And I got with one of the recruiting coordinator, and he said, I need 15 high schools. And whoever you think is the most important, give me their numbers, and I reach out to them. And I'll never forget, you'll know this, I called Mike Flynn my first week there. And I'll never forget this. I called him all nervous, big name, Mike Flynn, Blue Star, all that type of stuff. And he taught me how to address coaches when you call them. Introduce your name. I was talking really fast. Hey, my name is Joe. I'm from University of Central Florida. Da, da, da. And he was like, listen, slow down, relax. He knew I was new, so he was probably picking on me a little bit too. But again, just telling me how to talk to coaches, how to connect, how to make sure you're communicating the right information so that when you do get off the phone with them, they know you and they have an idea of who you are and at least remember your name and your school. They may not remember what you talked about, but they'll remember your name and your school. So the biggest thing I wanted to do whenever I became an assistant was just connect with people who can help you get players. That's the most important thing. And everything else I kind of figured out. I was already doing the scouting stuff in the film, so that wasn't an issue. You watch film, you know how to break it down, you know how to do a scouting report. That was really the easy part. It was just getting connected to, coaches, AAU coaches, parents, kids. And again, being on the floor was something I was comfortable with. Teaching is a little bit easier for me. So that transition to the floor was a little bit easier. It was difficult when now you're a main voice versus just being on the sideline. But, you know, that stuff comes easy for me, being able to get on the floor and teach. So it's been a pretty good transition so far, I'd say.
Love that. So, you know, a couple things, and we always like to reiterate some things just so everybody could take their notes and get things down. But, you know, being available, like that is huge. You know, I know a lot of people are trying to take that next step, and they're trying to figure out different things that they could be doing within their current situation. And in any position that you're in, as long as you're available and you're open to actually getting better as a coach or a video coordinator or Dobo, whatever position you have, you got to be available and be willing to get better. That's the main thing that I just heard you speak about, Joe. So when you think about, you know, any younger assistants or people on the phone call that may be trying to make that shift, you know, maybe they're in a support role right now and they want to become an assistant coach or a head coach or whatever the case is, and they're trying to make that shift. What are some of the things they can do if it's like, you know, I can't really recruit right now. Right. So how could I kind of touch that area, but at the same time, I'm not going to be able to actually go do that. So what's some of the things that you could give everybody on the phone call that may be some tips or some strategies that you've been able to use that help you to propel from one position to the next position?
I'll just hit on your point with recruiting. Obviously, you know, we had camps. You know, everybody hosts camp. Well, obviously when you're at the college level, you host camps, and you have AAU coaches and you have high school coaches come. You know, actually, I'll go back to this. The first thing I did was obviously when I got the job, I told Joy, hey, listen, you know, I want to be an assistant coach. You know, that's my goal. I think you have to tell who you're working for, or who you're working with, what ultimately your goal is so that they know. Because if they don't know, then they're not ever going to help groom you or give you opportunities to try and get to your goal. They're just going to, and not everybody, but they may just want you to stay in your role. And that's the one thing that was great about Joy, was that she knew what my end goal was. And she put me in opportunities to kind of prove myself, you know, and really get that experience. So, you know, when coaches used to come use our facility for, you know, the practice gym, or coaches would come to camps, I would introduce myself. You know, I would help out with the camps. I would go let the coaches into the practice facility and meet them and introduce myself. And granted, I'm not really having a lot of conversation with them, but the face-to-face connection. You know, so that 2 years later, when I did get the job and I do call, they're like, oh, hey, you know, congrats on the job. And at least we've established some sort of connection. Even though it was very minute, it was something. So just the recruiting standpoint, just that alone. But let me see. So you want to know how we get to moving?
Or a tip, you know, because you made that jump from a support role into an actual paid position. So, you know, there may be somebody that maybe, you know, what if I am a manager and I'm looking to become a video coordinator, or maybe I'm a volunteer assistant or something, and I'm looking to step up and take that next step. But, you know, maybe that opportunity is not there for me. What could I be kind of doing as I'm getting ready for that situation?
Yeah, I know one thing I did, and I still do it now. Obviously, when you go to new places, you want to make sure you're always learning, but you don't really want to wait. I don't usually wait till the end of the year to meet. So I would typically, after the summer, you know, now that we have summer access in college, after the summer, I talk to my head coach and ask him, hey, what do I need to get better at? What do you need more from me? And we would meet about that. When we come back from school and before we start full team practice after the individuals, hey, give me some feedback. What do I need to get better at? What do you want me to do more of? What do you want me to do less of? What do you want me to be better at? And before the season starts, so after we go through our 40 days of practices, before non-conference starts, hey, again, what do I need to get better at? What do I need to do? What do you need more from me, month? So you're constantly in an evaluation process. You're not waiting to the end of the year to figure out, hey, what do I need to do better? At that point, shoot, coach might have forgot things. You know, you go through a whole year. So I would always try to get some sort of in-season feedback as to what, and obviously it happens daily. Hey, coach, I need you to do this, Joe, and this scout, or but just getting an overall standpoint of what you need to get better at. Coach Gibbs, our current head coach, took me to lunch twice this year and just kind of talked about certain things that was on his mind and gave me feedback, what he needs me to do more of, less of. So be constantly in evaluation. It's very hard to look at yourself in season because you're having to do a lot between recruiting and workouts and scouts and things like that. But, your head coach is always watching. So I would always just be asking them, hey, what do I need to do better? Bill Ferrara, a good friend of mine, taught me something that I really like that I actually use this with my wife for self-evaluation things. 3 things I need to start, 3 things I need to stop, 3 things I need to continue to be doing. And you can take that in every aspect of your life. So I actually did it with my wife. Hey, what's 3 things I need to stop? What's 3 things I need to start? What's 3 things I need to continue? And that could be obviously in your work life, in your personal life. And that really helped establish things I need to get better at. So I would recommend doing that. Talk to your boss, talk to someone above you. If you're a manager, but there's a head manager or there's an assistant coach that's over the managers, talk to them first and then reiterate what you need to get from that. And then don't be afraid to talk to your boss. I mean, Joy was so great at holding me accountable and pushing me, and because she knew what I wanted to be. So she never held me to the manager accountability. She held me, if you want to be a coach, I'm going to hold you to that and I'm going to push you towards that. And that made me better. If she would have just took me as a manager, I probably would have never been challenged. So got to be afraid to fail. I was pushed. I went through the fire, man. I went through the fire. No one really taught me how to do a lot of things. In a coaching world, sometimes you just got to figure stuff out. And that's honestly how I did it. Just figured it out on my own.
I love how you broke it down with the 3s. And Bill's he's a great guy to actually be connected with. He's one of my closer friends as well. So he definitely helps us out and gives us some great feedback with stuff like that. I almost wanted to throw up the 3s, like we just hit a 3, with all those.
It don't have to be 3, it could be 1. Hey, coach, give me 1 thing you want me to do better, or 1 thing you want me to stop doing. So whether it's talking too much or asking for too much, whatever it is, 1 thing you want me to start. So something I'm not doing that you want me to do or do more of. And then 1 thing that you want me to continue. Hey, continue to connect with our players. Hey, continue to, voice your opinions, continue to be available, continue to learn. And again, it doesn't have to be 3, but I think at our level, there's so many things that we do. I think there's probably 10 things our coaches want us to start and stop doing, but at least the 3 gives you a focus.
Yeah, I love that. And if there's any, head coaches that are on right now, that's something that you could actually use as well in that in your end of the year meetings. You could maybe bring that back to your employees or your coworkers or whoever you're actually having in that meeting. So we appreciate that, Joe. So, knowing that we're in the times that we're in, this is a unique situation that we're in, and, recruiting is totally different right now. Recruiting looks different, everything about it is a little bit different. What are some of the things that you kind of transition to within your recruiting to kind of loosen things up or to switch things up and kind of be in the midst of this situation? What adjustments have you made with your recruiting?
Well, I mean, as everybody, we finished our season, and as soon as we lost the Florida Gulf Coast semifinals, and as soon as we finished, literally about 2 or 3 days later, everything got canceled. So our conference actually didn't even have a championship game. So we were kind of bracing for things to be shut down. But, we were in the 21 class. So as you know, if you guys don't know, March is a big time for the contact period for Division I, which means we can go out, we can go do home visits, we can go meet kids at their schools, more of a face-to-face connection. We're not allowed to do that a lot throughout the year, but March is a big time for that. So we were preparing for home visits to go sit down in homes and talk about UNF and our plan for them as individuals. And that got shut down quick. So we don't do a ton of them, but obviously in Florida, we got a lot of good kids. So we try to go to the local kids. So right after that, we really transitioned to recruiting the transfer portal. I know that's a really hot topic of conversation nowadays, is the transfer portal. And that's actually one of my job responsibilities, is to recruit or monitor the transfer portal. Like new players coming in, new names, Division I, Division II. I mean, shoot, I think there's up to 1,000 kids or close to it now. But so at a mid-major level, we really think we can make impacts through transfers. And we were really lucky this year. We ended up landing 3 of them, 3 really good players. So we really did that, and I think it helps. I had relationships with 2 of them already from recruiting them in high school, so that made that a little bit easier. But phone calls are the first thing, and then once you kind of get your name in there, actually one thing we did a really good job of, we were lucky to have, I had a friend of mine create these. They're called slates. It's an Adobe. I don't know. I mean, you guys know it. At Louisville, you probably had so many resources to do so many things different and unique. A friend of mine helped create these, and they're literally like little links that you send to recruits. And we recruit a little bit internationally, so that helps us with that as well, because, you know, it's not easy for them to come and do an unofficial visit. That's impossible. So we create slates. We send them to people. That's probably the best way to get our program out. We have one about UNF, about the university. We have one about the city of Jacksonville. So if they're not familiar about what the city's about or what's there, we have one about our head coach, gives a little background about Coach Gibbs and his personal life, his coaching style, you know, tidbits from former players. We have one about campus resources, which would go to our SAC, well, actually academics that'd be, but campus resources is pretty much stuff about campus, food options, housing, things like that. And then we'd have one tailored to academics, how we do things with women's basketball, study hall, majors. And we literally just shot those out. Probably each coach probably sent one to our recruits every day, just so they're having new information. They're not having to go online and click through all that and not know what they're looking at. We send them exactly what they need to see. If they have any more questions, they can kind of do everything on their own. But we don't want them to be clicking all through the website. We want them to go right to what they need and all you got to do, click on your phone. You can send it as a text message, and you just scroll through it like it's a website. Ooh. And it's perfect. It's easy for parents. It's easy for kids. Obviously, everybody's on their phone. So if you send them a text message and you send them a link through that, they're probably going to do that more than if you send them, like we used to do, a mail out with a graphic on the paper and look at that information and crumple up and throw it. They'll always have that link. So we did that a lot early on to the transfer portal kids. And then as we got deeper into connections with them, like we're doing now, we would do Zoom calls. You know, that's the best way to get one-on-one. Obviously, we were doing FaceTimes too, but Zoom is easy for everybody to get involved. We've done quite a bit of those recently with our 2021 class, just getting on with as a staff and, you know, really just kind of shooting the breeze. You know, obviously we have some our conversations have substance sometimes, but we really just want to make that connection. And, you know, not being able to do it in home visits is difficult, and this is the best way to do it. So we haven't really done too much different. We don't have a huge 21 class because we don't have a lot of scholarships in it. So we're being very particular about the kids we recruit in that class. But we're going hard at it. You know, we have a plan every week as to who we're hitting up. And it's not just the kid. You know, Coach Gibbs is a big believer about recruiting the circle and all of its influencers. And as you know, it's the most important thing. Kids make decisions, but they also lean on a lot of people for those. So our coordinator does a really good job of organizing, hey, Joe, you're recruit, and then, you know, set on a Zoom with the kid, and, you know, and I think what's made this really difficult too is that a lot of kids' recruiting processes have been sped up. So that also changes the pace at which you recruit. You know, most kids kind of make decisions, you know, DP, early before July, maybe after July, maybe after the official visit process. But with the way scholarships are getting snatched up with the portal and with transfers, and now you can't go visit schools like you could. You can't go to camps in the summer. So we've just had to really probably have harder conversations earlier because of the times that we're in. But it also makes it a little bit easier for us. You know, if we miss out on our top 5 kids, we either go to plan B or we just start recruiting, you know, the next year. So it's helped us out a lot, but it's also helped us pick up the pace as to, you know, the intensity of our recruiting.
Nice.
That's actually, that's a great way to use it as a pivot to actually help it to become something positive during these times that can motivate you to get a little bit more done. So I love the way you guys are using that. One thing that you mentioned was that circle of influence when it comes to your recruiting process. And that's a huge thing. I remember when I was at Marshall and we had a wild card. So we would say, okay, if we have a kid on the board, we would literally put them on the board. And then we would say, okay, these are the connections. This is the wild card, meaning this is the person that can literally change our process. Like they're the ones that's in the air that nobody's really talking about or nobody has mentioned at that time. So that I thought that was very interesting that you brought that up. So when we go back and we look at all of the things that you've been through as an assistant coach, your journey to get to where you are, who are you picking the phone up and getting advice from when it comes to coaching? Do you have any coaching mentors? Do you do any type of programs? Like, what are you doing for development at your level?
Hang on, I'm just plugging in my battery. My computer's about to die.
No problem, man. I thought you have some more video coordinator skills since you've been doing. I guess you've been out the game a little bit too long.
And this is my work computer, and I thought it was fully charged, but it ain't. So, yeah. So, Bill Ferrara is one of the guys I always call. I'm a big reader, so obviously I use reading a lot to help with experience. I remember that was. Let's go back to my UCF days. Greg Brown and Bob Starkey were two guys I was able to work for a year. And when you talk about just bookworms, we talked about experience earlier, DP. They told me that, reading adds the experience without the time component. And for me, that was really huge. I try to learn as quickly as possible, but I didn't have 4 years to learn.
Coach, go back and say that again, because I already know that probably went over somebody's head. They try to write that down, and you dropping so much fire. You bringing the heat, and I need you to slow down a little bit so everybody can get that down. Go back to what you said about the reading part.
Yeah, big reader, huge reader. I was only really into sports books, obviously being a sports guy, but being around Coach Starkey and Coach Brown, I think it was Coach Starkey told me that, reading adds the experience without the time component. And obviously he was, he's been in the game for 30 plus years, probably even a little bit longer than that, honestly. But that really helped me catch up. I got to learn as quickly and as fast as possible because I was in a role that needed a lot, needed to get done a lot, but I didn't have 2 years to do it. I was trying to figure it out as soon as possible. So got me on reading. I think that's huge. You can do that on your own. Reach out to people all the time about new books and things like that, or just research it. So that was big for me. But as far as people I lean on a lot, when I was at UCF, Adam Williams, he's an assistant coach now at Stetson with Donnie Jones down there. My circle, I try to lean on people that are going to challenge me. They're going to tell me things I probably don't want to hear. But I also like people who think very differently than the status quo. I really like people to think out of the box, who don't just fall in line with things that are normal happening. Mike Neighbors brought this up. I listened to a podcast. He called himself a contrarian. So contrary to belief, what a lot of people think is how you do things, they think the other way. They're kind of the complete opposite. So I like those people. It's very different. So Bill Ferrara at New Mexico is a guy I lean on all the time, whether it's something I need help with, something I need his advice, whether it's handling something with a player or even, a staff member, how he would do it or just kind of behind his mind with the women's game. Adam at Stetson, I call him about all type of stuff. He's a good friend of mine. I work with him at UCF. He just kind of talks about everything. He's hilarious, but he helps him with a lot of stuff. And then Patrick Klein, he was at Ohio State. He helped me out a lot. I was fired at 24, 25 in the business, fired at 25, 4 years in. And Patrick was a guy who just picked me up, man, and didn't give me no pity, told me, hey, if you're serious about what you're doing, this is what you need to do, and you got to do it. So I spent a week up with him with Coach McGuff at Ohio State when they had Kelsey Mitchell and made the Sweet 16 run, and just really just sat there and watched them go through meetings and go through this. So investing your time with people is huge. A lot of people, like these Zoom calls are great. One-on-ones are great. But when you actually go somewhere and you invest time with them, it shows that you're serious. During our Final Fours, I would call people and say, hey, let's grab coffee. I don't even drink coffee. Hey, let's grab coffee. Like, I'll drink a water or a tea or I'll suck it up and have a hot coffee, but I don't really care about the coffee. I want to get one-on-one time with you. One-on-one time is where you get the real information. Clinics are great. Things like this are great. But if you can spend one-on-one time with somebody who knows something that you want to know and you show genuine interest, then that's where you really grow. Advice with that, don't just go to DP and be like, hey, DP, I want to learn how you recruit. You know, things that I would do, like when I went into Ohio State or I would talk to people, you got to do your research about the people that you're going to meet with.
That's a fact.
Don't, for example, let's use Mike Neighbors. Everybody knows he plays really fast. Hey, coach, how do you play fast? That's such a generic question. You know, and I think Bill taught me this too. He's a great question asker. And I think that's how you really get information. When you just ask generic questions, you're not going to get the information you really need. Ask specific questions to what they're doing. Hey, coach, when you're in transition, how do you teach your players to run their lanes? What are some points of emphasis that you talk to your point guard when you're talking about outlet passes? I see that a lot of your kids get their transition outlets on the run. Is that something that you teach, or does it just happen? One, right off the bat, he's going to know that you study. He's know you're asking a specific question to something that he does, and he knows you're genuinely interested. I think that's what you got to be, a really good question asker to get information. And that honestly, reading helped with that. I don't know what questions to ask, but that's just information that you can find out just from reading a few books here and there. They'll give you certain pointers. So I would say those are the three people I probably lean on the most. Now, there's other people that I call about certain things. You know, we talked about a DP. I mean, I don't have just one mentor. I kind of have mentors in certain areas of my life, and then there's certain ones that I go for just anything. You know, don't just – I know a lot of those are male coaches, but obviously being a white male in the business, you got to have to kind of learn how to navigate through that. And those were people that I leaned on that helped navigate through what I was going through as a 21-year-old coach in the business, who's a young white male, and they were where I wanted to be. And so those were the people that I reached out to. Find people who are above you or where you want to be. Obviously, you know, now I want to be a head coach one day. So now I'm starting to – some of my friends that I've been in the business are now head coaches, which is great at young ages. So now I'm kind of asking, hey, how did you get there? How did you do this? What did you think about this? And as you know, everybody's process is different. Everybody's timing's different. But they can at least start giving you things to think about or prepare yourself mentally, just the mindset of thinking like a head coach. And that's just kind of, you know, things I've done, people I've leaned on. But shoot, I might call you about working out a kid one day. You know, obviously that's your specialty now. So I may not call Bill or Adam about that. I may call you because I know that's what you do. So it just depends. I think your circle needs to be really broad about different people you can reach out to. Video coordinators. I got people helping me with graphics right now. I'm not great at Photoshop, but because I was a video coordinator, I can text through 2 or 3 people, be like, hey, I need help with a graphic. Can you help me? Hey, give me what you got. I'll send it to you in a couple days. And boom, I got a graphic for a kid. You know, so really just depends on what you need. But those 3 guys are people I lean on literally about everything, man. So they're really good people. I'm glad I think you got, I don't want to spoil your guest next week, but you got one of them coming on that's probably going to be a really good person for you. I got you.
So, you know, I'm actually I'm very excited to dig a little bit deeper on what you were talking about as far as the questions, because I think that's a huge thing. You know, sometimes we want to open up and we want to talk to people to kind of get a feel for some advice or different things that we should be doing. But a huge part of that is, first of all, you need to know your own personal PGI, right? Your performance gap indicator. Like, you should know the gap that you have as a coach. So meaning you should know exactly where you are, what your strengths are, what you do well, and what you need to work on. Once you can identify those things and you're actively working, sometimes we're not doing anything, so we don't have anything to ask. But when you're actively working, just like Coach Joe says, since you're out recruiting and you're running into different problems, write those problems down. Because when you get that opportunity, now you can move the needle directly in your career. Sometimes we sit down and ask a question that's for somebody else. You're not even struggling with team culture, but because everybody else is asking about team culture, we'll be like, hey, what are you doing for team culture? And you just get information at that point. All of the information should be driven to moving the needle to increase your performance as a coach. So I think that that's huge that you brought that up with the question in it. Yeah. So, what's something that you do at North Florida that is a little bit different when it comes to practice? If you're in a practice and you're an assistant coach and you're trying to make sure you're giving value to your team or your program, what are some of the things that I should be doing as I walk around? Should I be talking to players? Like what do you do in a practice?
Whew. Man, that has changed so much over the years in different spots that I've been. Obviously, being my first year here at UNF, I probably learned the most this year, DP. And I know for a fact I talked the least, which was really, me, I could talk to a wall for 30 minutes, but all the places I've been at, I've had substantial, my voice was heard. I spoke a lot, I taught a lot. Coach Gibbs does that a ton. He's a great teacher, a great communicator. He does a lot of the teaching in practice. So this year, again, my first year here, I was able to really kind of step back and just observe. And, they already had a well-oiled machine coming off their first winning season, Division I history. And I always said it to the staff. I said, I don't want to mess nothing up. I just want to come in and seamlessly fit and act like, you're not seeing me, you're not hearing me, you're just feeling my impact. And so I always tell, I just want to fit in. I just want to fit in. I just want to fit in. Tell me what you need, I'll do it. Tell me what you need. So I was really able to kind of take a step back and just observe. And, Gibbs told me the first thing when he hired me was, hey, man, I need you to build relationships and I need you to have staff chemistry. Nothing to do with workouts, nothing to do with film, nothing about X's and O's. I need you to connect with our players, and I need, you to seamlessly fit into our staff. And those are the most important things. So that's what I really focused on. So I didn't have to talk a lot X's and O's basketball-wise because our staff did a really good job of doing that. So I was able to really kind of get on the side and get in players' ears and be their biggest cheerleader and be their biggest hype man and really get to know them. And then once you get to know them, then you get to start coaching them. I was typically more of, I guess you can say, kind of a hard ass at my last couple stops. And this one I was kind of be able to be the supporter a little bit, pulling kids off to the side. If Coach Gibbs was teaching and they messed up, instead of stopping practice, I'd pull them to the side and say, hey, this you got to do A, B, C, and D. And so I was really able to make more of an impact this year probably than anywhere. And I spoke the least amount probably in practice. And so that really opened my eyes as a young assistant. Again, big reader. One of my favorite books, I'm going to plug it, Essentialism, Greg McKeown's, amazing. I think
go back and say that again because
too quick.
Everybody's trying to get the you gave us the book route. Now you dropping another book, so you want to get the book.
Essentialism, Greg McKeown. I think it's McKeown or McCown. Amazing. That mindset of doing less but being more impactful. That book is all about it. The do less but better. That's literally the entire book, what it's about. And in there, he talked about. I use this a lot in meetings, DP. I know we talked a little bit about that, but, don't speak to be heard, speak to have an impact. And as a young assistant, sometimes you want to speak to prove yourself, but when you're saying things all the time, people are just going to go in one ear, one out the other, or right over their head. So I only really spoke when I thought that it was going to bring value to our team or to a player or to a meeting, or whatever the case may be. Because this, DP, as you talk to players and you're just constantly running your mouth, they're going to tune you out at some point. So whether that's good, whether that's bad, most of the time we talk to kids when they make mistakes. Sometimes I wouldn't talk to kids when they make mistakes. Hey, man, you good? Let's go. Next rep. And leave it at that. Don't say nothing else to them. And then maybe after practice, you go and talk to them or whatever the case may be. So they knew that when I was approaching them or trying to tell them something in practice, they knew that what I was saying was going to have value because I didn't always do it. Mm-hmm. And I think same thing in meetings. I wouldn't always speak in meetings. I would just kind of be there and I would just exist, you know, and if coach asked for my opinion, I'd give it. But if not, I would just be okay. And then so when I would speak up, he knew that what I had to say was truly on my heart and something that I thought would really impact that. So finding value in your words is really important. And again, as a young assistant, you always want to talk. Prove yourself. And by talking, you don't always do that. Sometimes it's too much, you know. So that was one really big focus for me, DP, this year was when you're speaking, make sure it has value. You're not just saying stuff to say stuff.
Love that. You know, that actually made me think about a situation when I was offered the job in Marshall. That week, I was supposed to go pick Jeff up. Jeff Walls at University of Louisville while I was a video coordinator there. So before I left, for some reason, he called me and he said, hey, let's ride together into work today. So I picked him up. We riding in my Kia, my hatchback Kia. I am a video coordinator at that point, so I'm just getting by. So I'm picking up Jeff in my Kia, and we're having a conversation, and I asked him, you know, about any advice that he wanted to give me before I took this job. And he said, the first thing that I want you to do is sit back and learn how things are being done. Do not go in with your own plans. Do not go in with what you want to get accomplished. You go in to support the staff. And the first thing you need to do is understand how they do things. So, you know, that was a huge part of my success as a young coach, because just like you said, first year, I'm thinking, I got to prove myself. You know, this staff has been together for years. They've already turned around one program. They're in the process of turning around the second one. I'm thinking I'm being brought in to have this huge impact, and I got all these great ideas, and I almost was about to vomit ideas before I even got to the meeting. And Jeff told me, he said, no, young whippersnapper, I'm going to need you to chill out and listen when you get there. And it was key information that he gave me. So I thank you for giving that information as well.
Huge. And like I said, he knew I knew what his expectations were. Boom, right off the bat. Hey, I know you know basketball. I know you know this. I don't need that right away. Obviously, it's going to come with time. And as you know, I need you to connect with our players, and I need you to connect with our staff. And so that's what I literally. Again, you go in there, you observe, you sit back. My first day I was in team camp, and I had no idea who our players were. Obviously, I talked to our staff on the phone, but I literally I was in manager mode. Hey, what do you need? You need me to go get jerseys? Okay, I'm going to get jerseys. Hey, you need me to do the score clock? Hey, I'm doing the score clock. And so they know, again, you're just observe. What do they need? What does your staff need from you in that time? And as you prove yourself by being consistent and being available, then you start getting more responsibilities, providing more value. You know, spring workouts, I had no idea. I was just in the workouts. Just, hey, you need me to rebound? Hey, you need me to pass? What you need? And again, I was more focused on connecting with the players versus having to put kids through drills or doing things like that. So obviously Gibbs put together a staff where everybody can kind of thrive in their own roles, which was great. So without that, you know, my main focus might not have been that. I might have been trying to do other things, but he set the expectations. Hey, Joe, I need A and I need B. And if you can do A and B, that's the most important thing. And then everything else you bring is just cake. So that was what I really try to focus on was connecting with our players. Because at the end of the day, man, if you don't do that, what you're teaching them and what offense and defense you run don't mean squat if they don't listen to you or they don't trust what you're saying. So I think I haven't been at UNF a full calendar year yet, but I feel like now kids know that I really care. And so what I tell them or what I have to say, or when they ask me things, they know I'm going to give them honest feedback. They take it in a little bit better.
Love that. So we're now going to open it up for question and answers from anybody that's on the call that wants to ask Coach Joe a question. But before we get started in that, make sure you put your contact information in the chat. After every call, we always send out everybody's contact information so you guys can connect, because this is also about building relationships. I know a lot of people say network, but I can't stand when the network term. I feel like that's so cheesy. I want to be authentic. So let's build connections. Let's really start to talk to one another and open up the communication. So go ahead and drop your contact information in the chat. But we're open now for any questions that you want to ask Coach Joe. You can go ahead, take yourself off mute, and go ahead and jump in there. Ask Coach Joe whatever you want. Man, you've been crushing it today, Coach.
Coach, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
My name's Kevin Wigan. I just had a question. You were talking about reading. Do you feel like business books have helped you out with recruiting?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Obviously, I transitioned to go into the Barnes & Nobles. I always used to go to biographies. I love reading about coaches and things like that. But, business books, depending on what you're reading about, a lot of stuff is built towards, like DP said, the relationship piece. Some business books are about that. Some are not. I would phrase that different, Kevin. I would say more leadership books than business books would be where I think sometimes they go hand in hand, but that was something that was really new to me. I try to read things now that are outside of the box and not reading what everybody else is reading. Things that are going to challenge my thoughts, maybe of me looking at stuff in a different way. Something that I haven't really thought about, and then more relationships, everything that has to do with relationships. It all comes back to trust and stuff like that, but sometimes you'll get a tidbit here and there that's good for you, but more so leadership than business, Kevin, I would say is what I've leaned towards now. Okay,
thank you.
No problem.
Nice question, Kev. We're open. Any more questions? Just go ahead and just take yourself off mute. We got Coach Joe. He's wide open. He's answering. He's giving out fire, giving out some great advice, different things. Just hop in and ask your question.
DP, I'm putting my information too in the chat just so everybody has it too.
Much appreciated.
Email, my phone number in case anybody needs it.
Yeah, we'll add it in the email as well so everybody can have that one.
You took my shine. That was my time.
I know, but I was trying to hold it down. While you...
Appreciate that.
Hey, Joe, I got a question for you. How do you balance family and coaching basketball?
Ooh, great question. One thing I learned from Bob Starkey, I did a project. What was it? Coaching. I think I had coaching ethics or something like that. And the project to interview some coaches. And I asked them that, those guys, two of the hardest working guys that I was around. Greg Brown had a family, kids, wife. Coach Starkey, had a wife and a dog. And I asked him, I said, Coach, how do you balance this? And because that guy was a workaholic. And over time, I realized that you can't. I don't think there is a balance because everyone thinks about balance of being equal. It's not equal. It's you're not going to be able to give the same amount of time to your wife and your kid as you're going to be able to give it to Division I college basketball. It's kind of impossible. I one thing that I've learned, I've kind of adopted this. I'm just feeling it out. When I'm at home, I'm at home. I don't do scouting reports at home. I don't watch film at home unless it's something crazy or drastic. I'm not doing any of that, because I'm in the office from 7 to 6, 7 to 7 with kids and stuff like that. So when I'm at work, I work. When I'm at home, I'm home. So if I'm at home from 6:30 to 11 o'clock, I'm at home. Mm-hmm. The only thing I do is talk to recruits at home. That's it. Phone calls, text messages, AAU coaches, whoever I need to talk to, that's about it. Phone calls. And I try and schedule those so they're not as random as possible. So, hey, honey, I got a call today at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Can we have dinner at 7? Yeah, sure, no problem. So I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think there's a balance, at least for me. Some people can make it happen. But my wife knows that I'm not a workaholic, but I really like to work, and work ethic is how I've gotten my way up in the ranks. So I do that. She doesn't call me when I'm in the office because she knows I'm in the office. Hey, honey, when you coming home? When I finish my work, I'll come home. And so she knows, okay, no problem. So because she knows when I'm home, I'm home. And, sometimes you have those moments where you have to talk to a kid because something happened or your boss calls you and you need something done. You got to get it done. But I get a lot of work done in the office, and then when my wife and my kid go to sleep. And then I can do my own things when they go to bed because ain't no one telling me what I need to do. So that would be, I do it, man. Figure out how to do it. But when you're with your family, you're with your family. And when you're at work, you're at work. And try to separate the two as best as you can.
Love that. Great question. Great question. I always thought about it like, make sure you're in rhythm. I know because we do business and life together. So we coach together. We do everything together. So we try to stay in rhythm. So meaning if we're out at dinner, usually we end up talking about business, but we'll be like, we're not talking about that today, so we try to stay in rhythm, and whatever's on your calendar, actually doing it. I know that's a huge thing. Sometimes you could put stuff in your calendar and then you don't do it. Then that actually goes into other time that you're supposed to be doing something else. And it just kind of messes it up. So I try to stay in rhythm when it comes to scheduling and different things like that. I know that kind of helped me as a coach as well with, building those relationships and then making sure that you can have that family time. Great question though. We're open. Who wants to hop in here, ask Coach Joe a question? Come on, move the needle on your career. This is your opportunity. Get that inside scoop.
Hey, Coach. Paige Corkins from Concordia College.
Hold on, before Coach Paige goes, I'm going to give you a heads up. All right, Coach Paige asks some difficult questions. So if you can answer, I'm just getting you ready, getting prepared, right? Now I'm going to go ahead. Now, Coach Paige, you got it.
All right. There's two questions. I'll start off with the first one. This one's easy, though. If you could go back and have a conversation with your younger self, going through your journey now, what would you tell yourself?
Ooh, that is a good question. I would talk to younger.
You're talking to that manager, that young Joe, baby Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, obviously, when you're younger, first thing that comes to my mind, Paige, is, when you're a younger assistant, you're trying to kind of fit in, with the players. Obviously, having a relationship with the players is super important. So the first thing that comes to my mind is try to have more of an impact and an influence. I think that sometimes those things go hand in hand, but really try to think about the impact you're leaving on these players. What are they going to say about you after their 4 years are over? Or a couple years down the road, are they going to call you? I had a couple players. One player hit me up the other day and say she just got a high school job, and she wanted to call me and tell me. It's very cliche and everybody says it, but man, when those kids hit you up out of nowhere and thank you for something or want to share good news with you, that's really important. So just I would tell him to change his mindset about what you're trying to do for your players. Instead of trying to always be cool with them or be on the inside track, is, that's all great and dandy, but are they just doing that to be a friend, or are you trying to make an impact? So I would say really focus that. I remember when I was my first year at UCF, I think I had 2 players on the team that were older than me, which was kind of crazy, but, 50 or senior type players. So just really figure out what type of impact you're going to have on your players would probably be the first thing I tell them.
Nice.
And then the other part of my question was, how do you personally measure your success?
I told you.
That's a good question. You know what? It's funny you asked that, because I've asked a couple people in the business, just speaking basketball related, how are you measuring your offense? Like, how are you figuring out whether it's success or not? So that's a really good question, because I've been asking that from a basketball standpoint. But how do I measure personal success? I'm a big self-evaluator. It's something I've really tried to do this past year a lot. Talking to my head coach would be really big, making sure I'm on the right track to doing what he expects me to do. But I'm not a big goal setter. So that's not really a thing of mine where I set a goal and I check it off. Or obviously there's certain milestones I have in my mind. Like, I want to be a head coach by the time I'm 40. That's I guess you could say kind of a goal of mine. But again, I'm not going to die if I don't get it, and that's not going to be the end of the world. I just really kind of look at it as, back to my first point, the impact. am I impacting our kids? If I'm impacting our kids in relationships, that's successful to me. Like I don't look at the wins or losses. I'm more of kind of a process guy. You know, are we just doing things the right way? If we're doing it the right way and we're losing right now, so be it. You know, I really just want to make sure that I have the right processes in mind. Is my wife happy? Am I being a good dad? Am I being a good husband? Am I being a good coach? And if I can say yes to those things, Paige, that to me is success. You know, it's cliche. Everybody wants to win and stuff like that. But, you know, this is my first year in a while. Yeah. I think my second year ever having a winning record on being a part of a program. And you wouldn't even know it, you know, just because every day you're in there and you're just trying to get the most out of your players every single day. Eric Musselman tweeted this page. This is kind of a mindset I had going into Eric Musselman. He's a head men's basketball coach at Arkansas. He said, every single day you walk in the gym, your thought should be, what can I have to do to get my players better today? How can I connect to my players? So every day I ask myself, did I do everything I can to be productive in that day? That's how I looked at it, Paige. That would probably be my answer. Every single day, am I doing something that I know I'm supposed to do? You don't have to be a list writer and check things off your list. Everything doesn't have to get done in 2 days. But spend your time wisely. Spend your time productively. When I was younger, I would say yes to everything. And now I've kind of learned to say no to some things to be able to get things done. So I look at it more as a daily thing. Did I get everything I needed to get done today accomplished? And if I did, success. If not, I don't think it's a failure. I just move it on to the next day. But I think you got to take it day by day with that. So again, evaluation at the end of the year is big. Self-reflection in the moment is huge to figure out whether it's success. But I just try to take things and learn from them. I don't really – everyone talks about failures. Again, very cliche. I'm not a cliche guy. But just learn from your mistakes, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Nice. And you survived. You survived the questions from Coach Page. So
yeah, that was really good. That one, again, I'm measuring your success. I don't. That's really tough. You know, it's really tough. I don't think there's any concrete way to do it. I'm a feel person. If I feel good, then it is what it is. Obviously, you can look at numbers and things like that. At the end of the day, coaches always look at numbers and wins and losses and points and rebounds, stuff like that. But you just got to make sure you're on the right track. And things don't happen overnight, in a week, but over time you start to see it. So I think that's just make sure you're on the right track.
Yep.
Nice. All right. I see Lindsay.
Yep. Coach, I've got a quick question about your recruiting process. So you talked a little bit earlier about like identifying a player's circle of influence, building relationships. But do you have any like best practices as far as identifying the best people in their circle of influence, or even with better connecting with a player on a broader scale than just maybe giving them a phone call right now?
Yeah. First piece of advice from a recruiting standpoint, you know, you talk about your circle. I mean, again, got this from Joy. Be a good question asker. So, and every response that a kid has will always be able to bring up another question. So, for example, hey, man, what you up to? Nothing. I'm chilling with my dad. Oh, yeah? What you doing? Watching TV. Oh, yeah? What you watching? Oh, you like that show? Oh, you like this and that? Oh, what's dad's name? And now they're starting to feed you information with them not even knowing it. I never want phone calls to ever feel like interrogations. Kids are not going to really open up to you when you're at, hey, what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? What's your mom? What's your dad? What you have any brothers and sisters? Let that stuff just come organically. Because, and I always tell kids, my biggest thing is I want you to feel as comfortable as possible on the phone with me. I don't want it to be Coach Joe's calling and like, damn, I don't want to talk to him. Like, he just, you know, I always want them to have some sort of level of excitement when I'm calling or when I'm texting. Another piece of advice is be 100% authentic. Be you, be real. Don't try to be somebody you're not. I tell kids all the time, I say, hey, listen, I know this is kind of awkward. This may be your first phone call. I know this is weird. We've never talked, but I want you to be 100% yourself. I know that's going to take time, but what you'll get from me is I'm going to be me all the time. I'm not going to try to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not going to be fluff. I'm not for everybody, but I'm high energy. I like to have fun. This is who I am. And I just try to show that in every single phone call with parents, with coaches, with kids. Just be you. Because if you try to be somebody that you're not, and then they commit to you and they come to campus and they're like, dang, Coach DP wasn't like that when he was recruiting me, then they're not going to really know who you are. So when kids get on campus or they meet me for an official visit or I go in their house for a home visit, they know everybody who I've been the past 6 months on the phone is going to be the exact person that when I walk through their front door, that's who I am. Or when I put them through a workout, that's who I am. Or when I take them to lunch, that's who I am. Just be consistent with who you are. And that's honestly the best way to connect with players. The absolute best way, because they never have to guess who you are. And sometimes it works for you. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes kids think you're corny. Whatever. That's just who you are, and you just own it. And I think kids respect that more than anything.
Nice.
Be you. Great question.
I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Destiny Ramsey, assistant coach, Illinois Central College. Just wanted to ask a quick question for when you're assistant coaching, when you're working under a head coach, what are your non-negotiables? So what are things that you look for before working for somebody? So those things that you look for in a boss, I guess. So what are your non-negotiables when you step on the floor? Is it so whether it be 3 or 4 or 5 of your non-negotiables, is it certain things or qualities that you have to have in a boss before you'll work for them? Or is there something specific that you look for in your head coach? What are the things that you looked for when you picked your role as your assistant coach?
Really good question. I've worked for 3 head coaches now. Obviously I kind of slid right into the position with Joy. So I was, well familiar with her. Obviously now I have a kid. I have a son, I guess you can kind of say with special needs. So, just a big thing I'm up front. I have to do a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of therapies with him. And so, when Coach Gibbs and I were kind of going through the interview process, I just said, hey, listen, Coach, there might be some times where I might have to be late to a practice, or I might have to bring my son because I don't have a nurse to watch my son, or whatever the case may be. So I guess to answer your question, just understanding of my personal situation with my son. That's the most important thing. My wife's a teacher, so she's Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, whatever. She's really busy. So flexibility with my family is huge. And not that it's a non-negotiable per se, but it's really, really important to me. And I think a lot of head coaches are very keen on that, and they understand that family is super important. My boss right now has got 3 kids, so he totally understands how important family is, and obviously knew my situation with my son, so he was very supportive of that. All the bosses I have always been great with family and my wife. But then another that is just making sure that they're challenging you. I wouldn't say that's a non-negotiable, but it's probably more of an expectation than anything. Making sure that they're trying to help you get to where you want to go. You are an assistant coach, and some people want to be assistant coaches for their whole life. Not everybody wants to be a head coach, but just saying, hey, coach, this is where I want to go. This is my ultimate goal. And asking them, hey, how can you get me there? How can you help me get there? I know you might not be able to do everything that I want, but give me 1 or 2 things that are going to help me over time to get there. So accountability for them to you as an assistant coach in reaching your goals or your, aspirations. And then just a sense of family and them understanding, again, I'm a little bit different because of my son, but just making sure that they understand kind of what my main priorities are, which is obviously my wife and my son. But other than that, I try to learn as much as I can from head coaches. I don't really have no non-negotiables other than that. I know that's maybe not the answer you're looking for, but I think being able to work for different people provides different opportunities, and you take and learn from everybody. But family and just making sure they're making you the best coach, I think should really be the only non-negotiables to you. Obviously, you want to make sure you're being a good son, whatever, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But then at the same time, you want to make sure you're being pushed and being made better every day.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Nice. How's your son doing, man? I see him. He's making moves now.
He's at my mom hasn't seen him for a long time, obviously with this COVID stuff and being able to travel, but he's scaling walls and walking and crawling now. So he's starting, he's 2 now. So he's in that quote unquote terrible 2 stage. So
Terror 2.
Yeah, he throws his tantrums here and there. He's got the mean looks on his face. So you got to be a little more disciplined now with him. But man, he's healthy. So that's important. But we're starting to see some real growth in mentally and physically, which is great.
Nice.
Love that. Any more questions? We're open. And don't mind us because, Joe's my boy. So I'm going to be on here having a full-blown conversation. So hop in with your questions. Get your questions answered.
Whatever you got.
Hey, this is Coach Luke down in Orlando. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I got a question for you. I want to piggyback off of Paige's question. And it's in regards to talking about your younger self. Would you have done anything differently? Would you have coached high school? Would you have coached maybe I know you mentioned your goal was to coach at a head coaching position in the future. Do you think that would I don't know if you had any opportunities to coach at different places. Would you have coached on the other side of the country? Is there anything that you might have done differently or you would recommend to younger coaches or coaches trying to aspire to be a head coach like you are? Or do you just have anything in general you would like to add in regards to being a head coach at that level?
Yeah. After my time at UCF, I was prepping to become a high school coach at Windermere Prep, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with being in Orlando. Windermere Prep was up and coming school, beautiful area, beautiful campus. I mean, unbelievable place. And I think I was like 25 at the time, and I was like, all right, well, if I can't get another college job, Windermere Prep would be a great job. Good players. Obviously, I knew the area, so being able to maybe get involved in the AAU. I've thought about that. Being a head coach. Again, here was my plan. This was my plan. Play for 4 years, be a GA at the school where I finished playing, go from a GA, get my master's, go be a video coordinator somewhere, do that for 2, 3, 4 years, whatever the case may be, and then work my way up to an assistant coach. Obviously, that didn't happen. I don't have my master's. I didn't play 4 years in college, and I'm still at the same place where I wanted to eventually be, a Division I assistant. So I don't know if I would have done anything different. I always think, I was like, man, what if because if I would have finished my 2 years where I was playing ball through my injuries, who knows if I'd be coaching right now at Division I level? Who knows? Who knows if I would have got a GA spot after playing 4 years Division II basketball? Who knows? So I always think about, man, what if I would have kept playing? But honestly, I don't even think about that anymore because everybody's path is so different that if I would have if I would have played 4 years, who knows if I would have been a manager? Who knows if I would have been connected to Division I program and got the experience that I've gotten as a GA versus being a manager? I mean, I got GA experience being a manager. I was doing video coordinator stuff as a senior in college. So I don't ever really question about decisions I made in the past other than maybe saying, hey, what if I would have played 4 years? But people ask me, do you want to be a Division II head coach? Not really. I like right now where I'm at. I love being an assistant. I think, I'm at a place now where I make a really big impact on our players and I feel like at a good school. I would love to get to that next level of being a head coach, but I don't really think about that, man, to be honest with you. Again, super cliche. I just try to be the best at where I'm at, and hopefully it takes me where I want to go, because the only people that's going to help you get your own job is yourself and then your boss, and being true and honest to people and making connections like this and just staying with them. But no, man, I don't have any I'm just trying to focus on what I got to do to help North Florida win an A-Sun championship and get to the tournament, and whatever happens from that happens. And if it does, it doesn't. And if I get to a point where my wife's like, hey, you need to hang it up, then that's when I think about it. But I don't really have anything I probably would have done differently in the past from a career decision-wise.
Thank you.
No problem.
Nice. We're open. We'll take one more question for Coach Joe. Don't want to wear you out, man. You know,
Good, man.
I want to keep you fresh. You know, you still have a little family time left for tonight, so I want to keep you fresh.
I'm good, man.
Coach Joe, this is Coach Core, Nassau Community College, Division III Junior College in the state of New York.
You know where Coram is?
Yeah, I know where Coram is.
I lived there for 8 years before I moved down to Florida.
Well, Joe's an original New Yorker.
Yep.
Okay. That's what's up. So I see where the basketball passion connects.
Yeah. What's up, man?
Quick question. Do you guys recruit junior college? Have you done it throughout your career? What has your experiences been with junior college players, and what do you look for if you are coaching them?
Yeah, we recruit junior college kids. When I was at UCF, I probably wasn't heavily involved in the JUCO as much as I was towards the latter part of my career. At FIU, we recruited a couple of JUCO kids, and we recruit JUCO kids a little bit here at UNF now. I'm not responsible for it. We kind of break the way we do it here. Our recruiting is kind of broken down by different areas and different. I recruit international in the transfer portal, among others, and one of our other coaches really focuses on JUCO. But yes, we do. To answer your question about what do we look for, I think JUCO kids have to be able to come in and make an immediate impact in some specific area, whether that's ball handling or rebounding or shooting or defending the paint. Like, there has to be something that those kids, and this is just me speaking, this isn't for everybody, there has to be something that those kids can come in and be able to hang their hat on. You know, there can't be a question as to, all right, can Stephanie do this, or can she? No, hey, we know we're recruiting Stephanie because she can do this. Mm-hmm. And this is where she's going to have her impact made. Obviously, there's kids at higher levels, you know, high All-American JUCO kids that may be able to do a little bit of everything and may be able to be a five-tool player. But for us, we want to make sure, hey, we're recruiting Stephanie because she can come in and she can make open shots. That's her thing. Hey, she can come in and she can run a team. She may not be able to score it, but she can handle the ball, get us organized, and she can be able to defend her position. So I think immediate impact is really, really important because you only got 2 years with them. Mm-hmm. You know, and really year one is kind of like the figuring out stage. They're freshmen in your program at year one. So, again, year one, they got to be able to do at least one thing you know for sure, and then you can kind of develop them into what you need come year two. So just making sure kids know that, you know, and because, again, everybody recruits JUCOs for different reasons, but I know for me personally, I want them to be coming in and I know you're doing this, and this is what I expect of you. And if you don't, then it's probably not going to help you, but this is what we're relying on you to do. And they just got to accept that, you know, and be willing to kind of do whatever the team needs at that point.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Great question. Okay, so we're going to let Coach Joe go. Man, we appreciate you being on, Coach.
Thank you, Joe.
We're thankful for all of the gems that you dropped. We're thankful for everybody that's on the call. And once again, we'll get an email out with everybody's contact information so you can contact each person that's on the call. Just make sure you actually put your information in the chat, and that'll probably come out tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon or something like that. But this is just for us to provide value so we can walk away and we can move the needle in our career.
Yes.
Because we all know that self-development actually leads to you creating more activity in your area of influence. And once you can do that, now you put your strengths on display and you show people what kind of impact you can actually make. So this is a huge part of you moving the needle in your career, as well as us. Like, we love to do these calls because everybody learns well together.
Man.
So, Coach Joe, we appreciate that.
Yes.
And we appreciate everybody being on the call. Have a great night. Stay safe. Be safe. Make the best of it. And the rest of the week, don't make any excuses. Only make adjustments.
Yes.
Thanks, DP.
All
Have
right.
a good one.
All right, Gabby. See you later.
Everyone. Bye, Joe. Thank you.
All right, see you.